how did you get trained in all this? How did you get started? I mean, was there a process or did you kind of just figure it out on your own?
So there was a process. So I shadowed Hutch for a little bit, and then we went into my own appointments. And when I tell you I started out rough, I started out rough. I mean, it was very uncomfortable. I sounded like a robot speaking to people. And then I had to solve all that, I had to go out on my own. I basically snuck away from my management.
Thanks for joining us this week on the Elite Sales Podcast. I'm joined in the studio this week, Yoel Aynalem, this week in front of the camera.
What's up?
Our normal producer. And then we got John Bacaron, mainstay,
How's it going?
FFL Elite Syndicate. And we got Sam Martinez engineering the show. He's throwing out the peace sign, if you guys don't see. We also got a special guest joining us from the East Coast, in which we'll get into all the details. Bruce Rojee, new agent, doing phenomenally well. So we're very excited to hear from him in just a bit. But I actually just wanted to, before we get started, today what we're going to talk about is we're going to share a little bit about, making sure that you guys get out to convention, which is coming up in a couple weeks. I've been back in the field myself recently, so I've been not physically in the field, but doing live dials and getting on our live dials, training calls and doing telesales and having a great time with that. So I'm giving a few of my observations and a couple of lessons that I've learned the tough way in there. Going to go over some of the differences between fully underwritten plans versus simplified issue plans, and just making sure that you have enough lead flow. And then obviously we're going to hear Bruce's great story about how he's able to transition from where he was at to come join us here. But actually, just want to start off with a quote that I saw this morning. It was perfect timing, right? This is from Jocko Willink, who is actually going to be at the National Convention in Miami, and it's February 1st through the 4th. Okay, so if you guys have not registered yet, it's free to attend. Just to make your way out there, go to fflconvention.com and register. Okay, you guys both registered?
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Bruce, have you registered already?
I have.
All right. Awesome.
Nice.
Okay. So I just want to start off with this quote from Jocko, because I've actually read all his books and I listened to his podcast, and he's provided a ton of value for him to be showing up as a keynote speaker there for free for everyone to get a chance to hear. It's pretty awesome. So where's it go? All right. Okay, so the quote is, when I wake up in the morning, I don't think if I'm motivated or what I'm supposed to do. No, I don't think about it for 1 millisecond. When the alarm goes off, I have no thought about it. Whether this is easy, whether this is hard, whether I want to do it, whether I don't want to do it, none of that matters. It's an emotionless, thoughtless discipline. So that's something that really came on my, because I woke up at 5 o'clock this morning, and I was thinking, man, it's cold.
Yeah.
I just thought, man, I kind of had a late night last night. We went to a funeral. We went to a funeral for one of our former coworkers, Andrea, who passed away way too soon. She was 42 years old and passed away from cancer. It completely blindsided all of us. And during the it was a really nice ceremony. I mean, we felt really we had a lot of mixed emotions, because we're just like, all the times that she invited us out, we didn't get a chance to do anything, and then now someone around our age has passed, and you don't expect someone in their 40s to pass away just unexpectedly like that. So, but the ceremony was nice, right?
Yeah, it was awesome. It's a little weird. I guess I felt like it never made a difference to me, but it does make a difference if it's an open casket versus a closed casket.
Right.
It was a closed casket ceremony, but it was great to know that she impacted a lot of people. We came there at 3 on the dot, and we sat in the back. The seats were full.
You have to go to the overflow room, right?
Right. Yeah, there's an overflow room for a Zoom side. So it's great.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and then obviously during those moments, that's when you recognize how much of an impact someone made, even after they're gone, right? Because which I don't know, it was ironic for me, because she tried to plan a lot of events, and I was always like, yeah, sure. When I kept blowing it off, pushing it back, because I'm just thinking, we'll do it later. Like, it's not a priority right now.
Right.
But never would I have thought that we'd never have that opportunity again. So I don't know. I mean, it was difficult to come to grips with, because again, you bring it back to yourself, and you just think like, man, that could have been me.
Yeah.
Like we're around that same age. We did the same thing before, at the former company. And, it just really makes you grateful in a lot of ways for our opportunity that we're still able to do what we do, to actually go and make changes. But then, you feel a lot of sorrow for the person that's no longer here with us. And then I was just thinking, like, I was watching her family and they were crying, and, understandably so. And you're just thinking, man, this is like a really terrible moment for everybody. But then it was like at a Buddhist temple. And then, the Buddhist monk, he gave his speech, whatever.
Like I wouldn't say a sermon, but yeah, he gave a passage. I guess it was a passage about like white ash.
He gave some comforting words at the end, and just talked about, he talked about from the time you're born, we're all given a date.
Yes.
Like we all have a date, right? From the time we're born, which means we all have a limited amount of time. He said this could have been any of us. Like we don't know. So that's one of those things that it really makes you think, like, we keep thinking that we got more time, and then we keep putting things off, and we keep saying, like, yeah, I'll do that tomorrow. Yeah, I'll work really hard tomorrow. Today I'm going to take off. I'm going to do this, whatever. You just don't know.
Yeah. And it's comforting though. Like the best thing about it, she was in the insurance industry. She sold life insurance. So she has life insurance. Our old company, she was vested. She's been there for over 10 plus years. She has vested renewals, meaning that her family will continue to get lifetime renewals on it. And then the company will provide a little bit of life insurance to it. So it's comforting to know her family's slightly at least taken care of. Would it be better if there was a lot more life insurance? Yes. Right. But at the same time, you got to look at it. If something were to happen to you, how would your family be affected? How much of your accomplishments can be passed on as a legacy already if you were to pass away today? Or are we short on time right now? Do we need to catch up? Do we need to build faster and sooner for it?
Right. So not to bum you guys all out, but we're all gonna die. So I think by him talking about, like, hey, look, we change forms throughout time, right? The thing is, the time we're born, then we're guaranteed death. Mm-hmm. So when we have that moment that the inception of life, like, we're guaranteed death. So and then we're thinking, like, oh, we miss Andrea. We'll never get a chance to see her again. And he's like, separation is inevitable.
Yeah,
like that everyone's gonna have to separate at some point. So the thing is, like, why not make the most of all of our opportunities right now? Why not try to accomplish as much as you would like to accomplish? Like, don't keep putting things off, because at the end of the day, you're going to separate. And then just think about if that was your funeral and something happened to us right now today.
Yes.
Like, how much of an impact did you make on anybody?
Right.
Or the impact that you did make, which plenty of times people are very impactful. But the thing is, if that impact was a negative impact, which you can't go back and change the past, but if it was impactful in a negative way, why not try to change the course of that?
Yeah.
Why not try to leave a better legacy? Because the thing is, you never have to be perfect. No one's expecting you to be perfect. Look at Kobe.
Yeah.
Think about the amount of impact that he's left on people and how people remember him these days. Because, it's like the Mamba mentality. He was like the hardest worker. He was good to these guys. During his prime, like, there was that sexual assault trial. People were talking he was a terrible teammate because he was so hard on them. They said he was a ball hog. They said he was uncoachable. They said, a lot of negative things about him. Well, what did they remember him by now?
Yeah.
It's the legacy that you leave. So, like, we have started from today, starting from this moment, to, like, change how that's going to be perceived of us.
Yeah. Especially on impact, right? Like, I was listening to a podcast by Jim Quick, and he interviewed this Harvard University professor. They did a longitudinal study of the happiness of life. He wrote a book, but they did the study from like 1950s, 1930s to all these people. They're old now. Their kids are baby boomers now. And the questions were, what type of category were they happy the most? What did people regret? And the biggest regret was, like, the relationships. The best thing was relationships, right? So it's in our time here and the impact of the relationships we have with people. And you got to kind of put it back into us making money and us being able to provide for our family, us having extra abundance of income to impact other people at the same time, right? Like, the people that regretted it, they didn't have much time with their family. And guess what? Maybe because they were busy working. Maybe they were busy doing 60, 70 hours of work barely got any time to take with their friends and family members, and they didn't build enough relationships. We have that opportunity here. If we take care of our business, we write well, we're able to do and help 10 families in 2 to 3 days, half of the week, and have that ability to spend and create those relationships. So just think bigger of what you're doing or what you're prolonging or what you're procrastinating on, that we can really make changes now.
And with all that, with the funeral and everything else, I mean, it really had me, I'm typically not a very emotional person, but, made me think a lot about the emotions of everything and observing everyone else's emotions. Cause we had friends that were crying, they're bawling their eyes out. And, it's just like during these times when people are very emotional, the thing is, it goes back to this whole quote that I originally brought up about Jocko.
Yeah.
It's like emotions come and go. But the thing is, if we have a definitive plan of what it is that we want to accomplish, and there's things that we need to do when we wake up, I don't know, your feelings shouldn't matter. Like I could have easily woken up this morning and just been like, oh, I'm too sad to do anything today, or I'm just overwhelmed with emotion. I don't want to work. I don't want to do anything. But I don't know. Would I have made a single difference to anybody by doing that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have been a negative impact on everybody else. So, I mean, I was just like, that hit me at the right time. And which is why I encourage all of you guys to, when you wake up, read something positive, listen to something positive, talk to some positive people, because if you don't do all that, negativity is for sure going to be around you.
Yeah.
You get on social media, it's going to be a bunch of negative stuff. So,
turn on the news.
Negative. For sure, it's going to be negative.
Yeah.
Probably not even true. But there's just a lot that you need to like start building up these habits to really strengthen your mind, strengthen your position to just continue to move forward with discipline and not let the emotions get the best of you, because you can deal with the emotions in your off hours.
Right.
So that's just my little thing. I'll get into how that actually applies to me on the live dials, because I've been through a lot of stuff in these last 3 weeks. I mean, it's probably not that big of a deal, but it just felt like a big deal to me.
Right.
So I just want to share my perspective, but without further ado, we're going to get to the guest of the hour. So we got joining us from the East Coast. I don't know exactly where, so I'm excited to hear from you directly. I've got a chance to talk to you a little bit via text and got a chance to meet you, but haven't had anything in depth. So I'm really excited for this. We got Bruce Rojee joining us from. Tell us a little about yourself, Bruce.
How's it going? Thank you for having me. I'm from Cape Cod, Massachusetts. Very, very small town, Katuitt. Grew up sort of in sales. So my father had like an automotive garage that we sold some used cars and started out that way. Couldn't really work with family. So I went into car sales for some larger companies, and, the pandemic hit, saw some ads to sell life insurance. So I dove in. Don't know where I'd be without the pandemic. Really, it sort of switched everything around for me in a positive way to be sort of like a bittersweet sort of thing. But just excited overall for the industry. Go from there.
All right. So you started with another company, the company that we were also from.
Yep.
So what was your experience like there?
Yeah, and how long have you been in the insurance industry now?
So I'm going on just about a year and a half.
Okay.
So I'm just about to make it to a year and a half. I was with my other company for about 8 months. Yeah. Before that, I was actually at another company as well. I'm not going to say any names on that one, but just wasn't happy at either place. It was the first place. There wasn't any guidance or coaching or anything like that. It was my very first company. I felt like I sort of got thrown out into an industry that I wasn't familiar with. And then I found a little bit of guidance in the company that I went to right after that, and before this agency. And with that, I got some coaching, some training, familiar with what life insurance really is. I wasn't even aware of half the things life insurance could do for somebody. And I just followed my upline. My upline and we spoke. We weren't happy where we were. We needed a change for ourselves. So we took another leap and we got here.
And who's your upline, by the way?
Mike Hutchinson.
Hutch. Shout out.
Hutch search. So how's the transition been since you got here?
Awesome. So I got a little bit of complacent. I got a little bit lazy in the beginning. I went from a very structured environment of needing, to be on 12 hours a day and no time with my family and fighting with my significant other because I was choosing the career over my family. And so I took advantage of it. I got lazy. I got comfortable and I felt myself sort of swaying away again. So I just had to reel it in. And, then I found myself just back right where I started with feeling uncomfortable talking to clients. And I said, this is bad. It's going to just get bad if I keep going this way. So I just, dug my feet down and started going off again.
So when back at the other company, when they were requiring you to be on 12 hours a day and all the other stuff, did it teach you anything?
It taught me a lot, to be honest. They had great training. I thank them for the training that they provided for me. It's just it wasn't the environment in a whole that I was happy with. I wasn't able to serve families the way that I felt was the best way to serve families. We were very limited on what we were able to do for certain families. And now we have such a reach on what we're able to do and what we're able to provide for all sorts of different people. Not everyone's situation is the same. So, you're able to help a lot more people in a whole here than we were there.
Got it. Yeah. So for those that don't know, Bruce is, as a new agent, he's been able to help. It's so far 2 weeks into the month of January, officially on numbers anyway. Mm-hmm. He's been able to help over 8 families, which if you guys don't know what that means, if you guys are out there watching and you can reach out to one of us, we'll put you in contact with Bruce and you guys will learn exactly how much that means.
The hint, the math is simple.
But you've been able to do that. So does that mean that you've gotten back onto a schedule similar to the 12-hour thing, or what's your schedule like with that?
I found a schedule that sort of works better for me. It's strange. I feel I'm working more. I guess it's more focused work. So instead of being on the call for 12 hours and really only working 3, I'm working 6 hours, but I'm getting 8 hours of work into that 6 hours of time.
Like that. Yeah. So, it's kind of interesting because I've heard the similar type of thing from a lot of other people, because the thing about the company that we came from, the training was good because it was very regimented.
Right.
And they teach you how to work. If nothing else, they teach you how to work.
Well, you have to.
The all the other subsets of things within that company didn't quite work out for us, and not to say anything bad about them, but it just didn't work out for a lot of people, and that's okay. But it was very structured. It was like, hey, you need to be in by this time. You need to do this. You need to do this number of dials. You need to do this, and blah blah blah.
It's so structured that it's almost micromanaged, right?
Yeah,
I'd remove the almost.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's micromanaged. So, but this is the great thing. If you're brand new, right? The biggest battle into this business is you're so brand new. You have a W-2 mindset versus an employer mindset of choosing when to work. So just like what Bruce mentioned, he took advantage when he came back here, because now you have the free will. Over there, there's no such thing as free will. This is the process. This is the system. Lock in so you'll be successful. And that's something that's great that you got to carry over here, right?
Yeah, and structure is obviously very important. Sorry, were you gonna make a point?
Yeah, I was just gonna say what you just said.
You elaborate.
Structure is really, really important, but again, it can go too far. Like even sometimes over here, we run into the issue of people having too much freedom. They don't know where to start, and we're a lot of the times that's what we brainstorm on, trying to figure out, how much structure do we give people, how much leeway do we give people, how do we assist them in the process. and how do we kind of, leave them to their own devices. So yeah, there's good and pros and cons. And I think you're a perfect example of that, of like, okay, maybe I overcorrected, got to kind of come back. So it's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting because as I'm observing all this stuff, as I mentioned, I'm back selling again now at this point because it's the start of a new year, and I'm like, everything that we did last year didn't get the desired results that I wanted, right? So that at that point, I'm like, what can I change? I'm like, I can't change how other people are going to work. I can't change their work ethic necessarily. I can't change the way that they think immediately. Or not, I can influence it over some time, but I'm gonna take into account what I can directly affect immediately, which is myself.
Right.
So like since January 2nd, I've been running appointments again. And, prior to that, like most of the time I've been like, all right, I'm telling new agents, come on in, like just buy some leads, hop on the live dials, do all this, do all that. And it's the correct thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
However, the thing is like people need a little bit more structure than that. Bruce, you can, if you agree with me, you can chime in anytime you feel.
Absolutely.
But it's similar to that. Like my old business model was like, all right, I'm just going to tell them what to do and then get some leads and then go to work, which if someone knows what they're doing, it's 100% going to work.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm not going to guarantee the results, but, but I'm going to say like, it's going to work overall because you got the numbers in your favor. But, it was my old business model was the equivalent of saying like, all right, hey, this McDonald's brand, you might've heard of them.
Right.
They're pretty successful. So it'd be telling someone, all right, you've just purchased your McDonald's franchise, figure it out.
Yeah. You're on your own.
They're going to make a bunch of mistakes, right?
See, that's my problem as well. I think that everybody's going to work equally to what I do, and that everyone picks up on what I do the same exact way. And it's like selling someone is the same as training someone. I think everyone gets sold a different way. Everyone has a different why, and everyone learns differently to become an agent that best fits them. And sometimes I don't do that with certain agents. I'm like, I throw them out there. I'm like, all right, let's get leads. Let's call. And sometimes you got to hold their hands. Sometimes it's like having a baby. It's like bringing up a baby. You just got to teach them how to walk before run. And that's all you can do.
Well, which I mean, you've switched over opportunities. So this is a little bit new for you. You're a year and a half into this business. I mean, you're going to make some mistakes.
Mm-hmm.
There's no other way around it. I mean, I've been in this business for 15 plus years, and I'm still making mistakes. So I don't know. I mean, you're going to grow. You're never going to grow out of mistakes altogether. It's just you're going to just make higher level mistakes. But that's all part of the process, and I've really been enjoying this part of it. So going back to your time here, how did you get trained in all this? How did you get started? I mean, was there a process, or did you kind of just figure it out on your own?
So there was a process. So I shadowed Hutch for a little bit, and then we went into my own appointments. And when I tell you I started out rough, I started out rough. I mean, it was very uncomfortable. I sounded like a robot speaking to people. And then I had to solve all that. I had to go out on my own. I basically snuck away from my management, and I just started.
You did that intentionally.
Yeah. I was like
in-person appointments or
virtual. It was virtual. Yep.
Okay.
So like instead of running it with my managers, I would run it alone.
But when you're saying you snuck out, so you're doing an individual Zoom appointment without them seeing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. And it worked. It worked. I got to, become my own agent, figure out what worked for me. I don't know why it worked. It just did. And then all of a sudden it just went up from there. So you say you don't know what was the difference? Can you maybe just so we can make it kind of useful for people, maybe if they... I think I got nervous a little bit with more successful people watching me.
Got it.
So it's like, okay, I'm trying to fill into their shoes that they've been in the industry for X amount of time. I'm expecting to be on the same level. Yeah. You can't expect to be on the same level as someone that's 10 years in when you're brand new.
Yep. So you're too much in your own head. You're
right.
thinking, you're a little self-conscious thinking about what people that in your business are going to think about your presentation and whatnot.
Right. Exactly.
That's one theory. My alternative theory. You watch the Christopher Nolan Batman trilogy?
No.
Is that Batman? Okay.
The Dark Knight one.
Oh, the Dark Knight one?
The one with Bane. Where Bane was
Dark Knight, Bane, and
yes.
So I remember when he was trying to get out that cave, like they were locked in that one well, that huge well. Then that's the only way out. You have to climb his way up. So you can only climb it to a certain part, and then you have to like jump. So the thing is, like, he kept doing it with a rope or something, right?
Right.
And then with the rope, every time that he missed that top step, he would fall and like plummet and hit really hard. Except he had that rope, so it just like kept him from like falling.
He had a safety net.
And then it got to the point where like he finally just removed the rope, and then he was able to make the jump. Of course, this is fiction, but the analogy is just that it's like burning the boats. It's like It's like giving yourself no other alternative but to succeed.
No option B.
Yeah,
right.
It could be one of the two. We'll see in the long run what it actually is for Bruce. But that's great to hear.
It's like people say in relationships and marriage, like if you make a back door, like you're gonna probably take it. Like if you have a way out, then you're probably gonna take that way out.
I was thinking more of like, if you're trying to teach your kid how to swim and you're right under them, they start swimming, compared to just tossing them in.
That's a very John analogy.
They got to swim.
They have no choice.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say they just toss their kids in and figure it out.
Yeah, that's true. That's how they learn.
They do that with you, Sam. Sam,
it's a do or die thing.
Makes sense.
I mean, it might cause trauma.
All the trauma makes sense.
All right,
it's all coming together.
Enough of this bad parenting talk. Back to Bruce. All right. Sorry for that. So once you got things rolling, like what was your thoughts then? Was it like, okay, I'm gonna start being top producer? I can reintegrate myself back into the group now that I know what I'm doing? Like, what happened next?
Next was I wanted to beat my upline. I wanted to be better. There was a couple of people in my previous office that I wanted to basically over succeed them. And I compared myself. I made competitions in my head, and then I just kept going. It was the reward for me that just kept it going. Like it's weird. Like I've never had something in my life where I've worked for the reward, and the reward is knowing that on someone's worst day of their life, it's going to be a little bit better because of what we've done. It's not, like you said earlier, it's not something that you brag about being a life insurance agent. People have strong hate towards insurance agents because they think that we're calling for extended warranties or something like that. But it's like, to me, it's moving. And to me, it's knowing that if you can go out and protect 15 families in one day, that's probably 45 people that are going to be in a much better spot because of you.
Right. Yeah.
Amen.
And yeah, I mean, and I that's 100% true. I mean, I think it's interesting to see how, when you first start off, you're just trying to get through a presentation without stumbling through. And I know this from my recent experiences. Like I'm just trying to get whatever I need to say out before this person hangs up on me. Right. And that was my immediate thought. And then I'm like, it wasn't so bad. So then you start kind of like, it's like a game. This is what I was talking to Yoel about earlier. Everything is a game. Like life is a game. Right. And not to diminish the importance of it, but it's a game in that this is how we get through certain things. And Bruce has done that specifically. It's like you get to a certain level. It's like, all right, now what's next? It's like you build up that level of belief you've accomplished up to this point. And that can't be it. It has to be something more. So then you start creating a game. Like, how do I exceed this person? Competitive juices start coming out. You start figuring out, like, how do you beat your best? How do you beat this next person? How do you, like, you just got to keep setting more and more levels for you because you need to accomplish bigger goals. Unless you're good where you're at. Like no one's ready to plateau yet, right?
And right. Inflation's coming, so if you already didn't need motivation, there's that.
Yeah, no, but it's a good thing. It's like steps, right? So you come in brand new into the insurance industry, you don't know a lot of things. You come in from a previous company, you did what you did back there. You don't know what you're doing here. So it's uncomfortable. So your first step is you got to be able to figure it out, have confidence that you know what you're doing, and you get over that skill hump. You get over that ability to, oh, I can sell now. Now that I know how to sell, what's next? How many more sales can I get? Who can I beat now? Who can I compete with? Where can I grow my business? But before that, you got to have that confidence in you that it's doable. So that's the next step for you.
So are you back to live dials with your team? Or are you still working independently? Like what's your...
Now I'm into training my own team. So I'm going to focus on training others on how to get to where I've gotten. And hopefully while I'm doing that, I can get much further and I can get to my next step.
So now that you are building a team, correct?
Correct.
All right. So, and by the way, if there's anyone not on Elite yet, I mean, if you're looking to join and they wanted to work with Bruce, how do they reach out to you?
I have my Facebook. I'm currently creating some websites and some Instagrams and some TikToks, but I'm sort of new to all that. So it's taken me a little bit of time. I'm not too tech savvy. But my Facebook's Rojee Agencies, and you can book right on there for either an interview or a consultation for life insurance.
Awesome.
Nice.
So now that you're building a team, I mean, you're getting on live dials with your guys and training them and having them watch you now?
Yep. So we're going to be getting into as a whole team. So with Mike Hutch, we started doing certain people every day of the week.
Mm-hmm.
Would watch with live transfers. I want to train on the live transfers. I love the live transfers. I think that's a huge bonus while you're making other calls. So basically it's just getting my team situated and making sure that they know where to turn if they need help, or they know how to be on the phones and overcome objections on the phones, because that's the main thing. Like, getting cut off and still getting your point across is probably the hardest point for me.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure that others are able to do that as well.
Right. And what are the plus and minuses of working live transfers?
The pluses would be you get connected. It's 100% show ratio, basically. So you have that call right sent to you. Someone's on the other end, hopefully looking for life insurance, right? Saves a little bit of time, I think. It can be a little bit more money for the lead itself, but worked properly, a lead's still a lead, even if you call them yourself from the CRM. So to me, it's just a better show ratio. The regular CRM leads, I'd say, obviously you can get more and you get your jitters out that way. You're not spending $60 or $120 to speak to one person. You have a whole bunch in the beginning that you can call and you can fumble on and you can stumble on and all that.
Right. And what are the minuses of, or the negatives of working live transfers?
Waiting for the calls to come in.
and they vary from day to day, right?
Yeah, they're all different. I mean, it's the same thing as if you're calling a lead. I think, you're gonna have your easy ones, you're gonna have your hard ones, you're gonna have your upset people, you're gonna have your happy people. I like the mortgage mailers. That's a huge bonus for me. I love working the mortgage mailers, the direct mailers that you can send out. If you don't do that, I'd set it up. It's definitely the best bang for your buck, I think.
Yeah, it's funny. We're just talking about this too, because I've been on live dials, and if for people that are worried about fumbling your words and stumbling and tripping up and tripping all over your own tongue. I mean, I've been experiencing a lot of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm just like reading the script and I'm just like, and then it's actually been okay, because I'm just like, I'm not self-conscious about it. I'm like, it is what it is, and I'm going to make more money than the person that's not doing it.
Right.
So someone actually asked me, because I was like dialing, and then I was like jumping on a pre-zone, then another pre-zone, then someone was like, what live transfer company are you using? I'm like, I'm not. I'm like, it's the Albert Lau live transfer company. Like I'm just
dialing.
dialing my leads and getting them on because I completely understand your point. I mean, there's people that are on there that use live transfers. And I'm like, cool, it makes total sense.
Mhm.
Like I would totally do it. For me personally, I think I would be pissed off if like I spent 60 to 100 bucks and someone set it up and I couldn't even get a full presentation in, then I'd be like, ugh. So if someone's gonna mess up, it's gonna be me.
Yeah.
Right? So that's just the way I look at it. But I also like I agree. I prefer to have quantity because if I get someone on the phone, I'm presenting from the start the same way, the cold start, same way that someone else just lobbed it up to me instead. So I don't know however you guys want it. You guys got to make that decision for yourself, but It's great to hear your perspective.
Yeah, everything works. People work different ways than, other leads. Some people like producing their own leads strictly from running Facebook ads. It's however you're comfortable getting your point across. And in the end.
Yeah, it's good diversification though. Bruce just mentioned, he's done CRM. He gets his bats in from the CRM. He's doing live transfers because he's comfortable with the live transfers and the 100% show ratio. And he's doing mailers. You're doing multiple lead batches yourself, right? From different lead vendors. The biggest thing is you got to have control. And the number one control you want to have is your lead flow. If you have enough leads, you're not scared to mess up one or two because you have plenty of people to call. Yeah. But if you only bought a small amount of leads with a small amount of purchase and you screw up one, that could be your 1 out of 3 presentations that you're doing throughout. And that's why you're so scared of it. So you got to eliminate that fear by having a lot of quantity and diversification.
And like for me, like I'm on the live dots for anyone that is curious about how calls work. I mean, you guys can hop on and you guys can listen in on with all of us. It's joiningelitedials.com. Mm-hmm. The passcode is 20K. Mm-hmm. And then, so the thing is like, I'm not there killing it by any stretch. Like I'm on there getting hung up on. I'm there getting like given the runaround and making excuses. And you guys can all get on and see, like, I'm actually having fun because all the people that are on there, you see me like, I'm like, they tell me some BS thing and I just laugh it off. And I'm like, I have that exact mentality. It's just like, okay, cool. I'm not going to waste any time even thinking about this or entertaining their BS because I have so many leads that I need to get around to. Like I'm making all these other people wait. I could be making money. There's no emotion in that, and that's how you can engineer your way out of that, right? So I love it with the live transfer thing. So how are you going around finding your prospects to either sell or to build your team with?
So right now I'm trying to stay local with people that I'm recruiting. That way I can work, face to face with them and make sure that we're sitting together and going over some stuff. Then I'll put some ads out there to build a virtual agency. And I just put a lot of Facebook posts out, a lot of Instagram posts. I'm constantly, private messaging people to the point where they're probably sick of even seeing my picture pop up in their messages. But getting the point across of, okay, one day they might be sitting down thinking, hey, having a conversation with their parents or something like that, where they need life insurance or they're talking to a friend that needs a job, and they're going to remember that I'm the one that's always showing up on the news feed or the, private messaging or direct messaging or anything like that. So I just stay busy and send out a bunch of private messages and posts and stories and all that.
I'm curious, do you ever get self-conscious about that? But like, I don't want to bother these people, or I don't want people to see my face and all this stuff.
At first I was, but now I don't care. Now it's just, if I'm going to keep, I think I've messaged someone probably once every 2 weeks about sitting down with their family to speak about, protecting their family. They're in the medical field, old friend of mine. And I just keep checking in on them. Like, hey, you guys ready to sit down yet? Hey, you guys ready to sit down yet? And it's one of these days he's going to be so fed up with it. He's like, yep, okay, whatever. Let's sit down. But I know once I get him to sit down, he's going to see the value. A lot of people do not get the value behind it. And it's our jobs to educate them. It's our jobs to show what the living benefits can be of these policies, what, the death benefits can be, what the retirement benefits can be.
So what was it that helped you get over that initial reluctance?
The competitions, like the wanting to compete with the people that were better than me, not having as many resources as them in the beginning. Like in the beginning as a new agent, you don't have a bunch of money to throw into leads. You don't have, you're scared. And I'd rather be scared sending out messages than spending X amount of money on leads that I'm going to fumble over as well.
That's true.
It takes that one person to message you back and you got a good sale and you're on your feet. You got the momentum.
That's true, because if not you, for example, that medical friend that you're hitting up, if not you, if you're not the one creating social media, if you're not the one educating client about life insurance, they're going to buy from someone else.
Yep.
You're going to lose the sale that you could have just done one quick post or one quick message to someone else because they made an ad, they made a post, right? And that's your buddy. That's your circle of influence. So for a fear of a simple post, you got to outweigh the cost and the opportunity cost you're losing out on.
Right.
All right. So, question, but maybe it'll come to me later. So what's next phase for you now, Bruce?
Next phase is just to keep focusing on building a team. I want to get as many people as I can to learn to teach how to sell life insurance and share the industry. I think this is the greatest secret of an industry in career-wise there is. I don't think anything beats it. You done properly, you're going to get paid on it for the rest of your life for work you do today. And I don't see anything beating it. So I just want to get this secret out there.
Majorly slept on.
I want to get your accent out there. I like it. I think it's so cool. I love the Massachusetts, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
I love that accent. I follow an account. It's like it's called like Gabby in Boston or something like that. Do you know what that is? It's like a girl. She does like comedy of like different towns and different accents of like Dunkin' Donuts and different characters and stuff. I'm like, this is so cool.
Yeah, they
no
can
one
get going
speaks
on.
like that.
Is she from Massachusetts?
Yeah, she lives in Boston. It's so cool. I'm like,
Yeah,
I feel like it's the one of the only environments where like complete strangers can just like yell at each other and not fight each other for some reason. Like if you start yelling in like California or LA at someone you don't know, like you're fighting or you're gonna get shot. Like, it's not even like a question. So it's just interesting.
You don't drop your R's, do you?
No, I don't think I do. But
You sneak it in there here and there. I caught it.
Yeah.
I caught it.
All right. So I guess we'll ask you these questions. So first of all, if an agent's struggling, what's your advice to them?
Reach out to somebody that's succeeding and get some feedback. Be coachable. It's not rocket science. It's just getting your momentum back and making sure that you implement things that you hear that are working for other people. I think the biggest problem is that people try to reinvent the wheel. And if it's working for others and others have built dynasties off of it and great agencies, follow them. People are putting information out there to help others succeed as well. Use it.
Great advice. What's your daily routine look like, Bruce?
So I'm a father of 5 children.
No way.
Yeah. So
how old are they?
They go from 11 to 1.
Wow. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 30. I just turned 30.
Wow. That's
you look younger, but hey, great on you.
That's good. I see a bunch of gray hair coming every time I look in the mirror, so I don't think so. But it's on its way.
Well, 5 kids, more grays are coming, I'm sure.
I think that stems from. I think that's the cause.
Okay.
But no, I just I wake up early. I get my kids ready. I get the oldest one off to school. My wife, she works late, so she's not home till 2:00 in the morning. So I take care of the morning routine. I wake her up. Then I go into my office. I start work. Then when she's got to leave, I take a little bit of time off, get the kids situated again, and then I'm back into my office.
So with 5 kids, you don't need any additional motivation. Like that.
No. That's
right.
Motivation enough for sure.
And then lastly, Bruce, I mean, I think you kind of answered this earlier, but indirectly, but if not for money, what do you do this for?
I want something to pass on to my children. It's weird when I first got into the industry and you guys were speaking of it earlier, everybody passes away. So, what are you going to leave behind? And to me, that's what I want to leave behind, something special. I want to make sure that I'm helping families. I want to make sure that they're protected and they're educated on what we're able to do for them. But for the first time, I thought about the day, what happens the day I pass away? It's, am I going to have done enough? Am I going to be where I want to be? Am I going to be happy with what I've succeeded when that time comes? And that's the main thing. I just want to make sure that I can pass on happy and making sure that I've done everything I needed to do for my children and I put them in a situation to succeed, because as we all know, the world's becoming more crazy and more expensive. So I just want to give them the chances that they deserve.
Love it. Cool. Well, really appreciate you hopping on, Bruce. I mean, first of all, love getting a chance to talk to you, because this is actually what makes this business that rewarding. I mean, sure, getting on and making sales and getting paid, that's cool. I'm never going to complain about that. But the thing is that when you, outside of just helping the clients, like when we bring in people into this business, they have an opportunity to, pursue what it is that they want, and to actually learn about their actual personal stories and why they do this, and learn about their plights, their difficulties, their challenges, and how they overcame those things. This is a huge part of what makes this so gratifying of a opportunity. So thank you very much. I appreciate you, Bruce.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So I mean, that's just another success, and he's not done. If anyone wants to join Bruce, anyone wants to everyone out there watching that's not with FFL yet, if you want to come on board, reach out to my man Bruce. He's got some big things coming. So thank you. And we'll continue to track along with you. So before we wrap up, I just want to share one experience that I went through. This stem back from last week. So last week I tried this new lead vendor, and then I ended up, I've never worked in New York before. So like they started sending me a bunch of New York leads. And for those that don't know, we have very, very limited on the number of carriers that we have available in there due to the insurance commissioner like stuff. Right. So
carriers and insurances.
Yeah. So we get to the point where like, I'm like, okay, I got a few carriers. And then like I present to this couple, they're like, yeah, we want this, we want that. And then I'm like, okay. So I ran through a couple different options, wrote it up. And then New York is such a unique, different animal, right? Yeah. So then I wrote them up with this company called National Life Group. Hey, shout out Devin.
It's the one you did the LSW, right?
I did the LSW, and then I'm like, all right, cool. I got all this. So I did the application. I'm like, seemed pretty simple. And then I talked to John, and
I was all like, oh, you gonna learn?
he's like, you did the NL, right? And I'm like, no, I did the LSW. Which is it's the same product, but for different states. But
and it's funny because I looked at it, I was like, oh, okay.
Well, so it's probably my mistake, but I called into the carrier one time at that sales desk, and I was like, what are the differences in the products? And then he just said, this one's only for direct agents and not for New Yorkers. So I completely misunderstood it. My fault. So then I was like, cool, I'm good. And I went through and I sold it, and then follow up in a week later, still didn't see the cases. And I'm like, what happened here? And then I started calling up. They're like, oh, maybe it just takes a couple of days. There's a bit of a lag. And then I waited a little bit longer. And then I called again, and I'm like, Oh, and I'm like, you know what? I don't think I've answered any of the underwriting questions because there's a separate tab at the top. Right?
Yeah, I even checked in with just like, you sent in the illustration, you didn't sign it, and you were like, "Duh, nothing happened."
Because it's a multi-phase type of application. So the whole time I was there thinking like, oh, cool, I completed everything, like really simple.
It's like, you didn't do
Why
like,
can't anyone do this?
you didn't do a
Super
30-minute questionnaire. I'm like, oh, okay, all right.
Yeah, John had this look of incredulity on his face the whole time. He was just like, okay, because I felt I was pretty like certain, and I was like, no, I think that's it. I've been in the business for 15 years. I know what I'm doing. Needless to say, I mean, I totally made a huge mistake. I missed a bunch of stuff, and then the thing is, I missed all the underwriting questions anyway. So I still need to go back and do the application. So when I went back and I did it, I'm like, oh wait, I did it on the wrong application. It's the wrong state. All this other stuff. So then I started thinking to myself, well, now I got to call my clients back again. Now I'm gonna look stupid. Now they're gonna cancel on me. Now, like all the new agent type stuff that people think, like when you call your client to follow up, people don't want to call up generally because they think, well, this gives them an opportunity to cancel.
Yeah.
What if they don't really want it? Well, look, I'm telling you from my own personal experience, from having managed a lot of different agents throughout my 15 plus years. If you feel that way, I mean, you really need to evaluate your sales process again, because you should feel confident overall. I mean, yes, will you have some cancellations? Of course, there's normal attrition. But the thing is, if you worry about whether or not someone's going to keep it, you didn't explain it right in the first place.
Right.
Right. So, but even then, I had an emotional moment. I was thinking, like, how do I get around this without calling my client and telling them I made a mistake? Right? And eventually I was like, yeah, I'm just going to bite the bullet. Like, it won't be a sale if I don't do this anyway, because it won't be complete. So I ended up calling them like, hey, I'm really sorry. I made a mistake. Like it's a new state for me because I've never written business in this particular state with this carrier, and the whole process is different. And they're like, oh, actually, we're glad you called because we actually have a few questions. And I'm like, okay, good. I'm like, how can I help? And blah, blah, blah. So I ended up renting them another policy. So
A third policy.
A third policy.
Because you did the husband and wife.
I did the husband and wife, one for an IUL, one for a term.
Okay.
And then he was like, oh, actually glad you called because actually we want to get her a term also, you know, in addition for the mortgage protection part of it. IULs for the cash value accumulation. And the term, I'm like, oh, cool.
Did you do 4 apps or just 2
so that was 3 apps because the husband just got a term initially.
Okay. Because you could do an IUL with the term writer.
Well, I already completed the other 2. So
Hindsight's 2020.
hindsight, and there's a new day, new mistakes to be made.
There you go.
You know, but so then I got to that point, and then like I wrapped up the third application. I'm like, hey, I'm really sorry. I apologize for the inconvenience. And they're like, no, don't worry about it. You're fine. And you know, so like he's like, yeah, I appreciate you. You know, I feel much better about protecting my family now. You know, because it turns out that his parents have both passed away. One when they were really, really young. So I was in the process of like asking these underwriting questions. I was like, I totally get why this guy sees why insurance is so important. And then like I wrap up the third application. I sent out the illustrations. I did all the other stuff that I didn't know before. And then I got to the point where I'm like, okay, well, you know, if you need anything else, just let me know. Once again, I apologize. They're like, no, man, you're our agent now. So he's like, I'm actually going to get another IUL for myself, you know, when my financial situation changes next month. So I'll be reaching out to you shortly.
Wow.
And I'm like, cool. I mean, so I could have very easily done the coward thing to do and just been like, I'm just gonna go hide under a rock now.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna call this client.
Well, to be fair, we're used to leads that are kind of like, did they want it when they filled this lead out? You know what I'm saying? From our previous company.
Right.
So like now to have people, so we still have that muscle memory of like, should I call them? You know, they're gonna come to their senses now.
I do the opposite. The more contacts, the way this is how my philosophy is, the more contacts you have with the client, the more you solidify that. So I'm actually dealing with one client that can't do an email signature, and I've spoken to her the last 3-4 days, which is sometimes this is the one I texted you. I had like a 2-hour conversation with her. She just can't figure it out. I'm like trying to work with it. But now imagine when you're calling them, they know who's picking up. And when they're calling you, you know who's picking up. You turn from a client to a relationship. And that's when you get future sales coming out of that. You get more calls saying, hey, now I have a brother or sister that needs insurance. And lucky enough, like last week, I had my old client called me writing up her mom. So things happen.
Well, you got, for anyone that writes any business, so you guys are all familiar with the when you're on a call and you're doing this, at the end of the day, they're like, at the end of the application, they're like, what's your name again?
Yeah.
Because the thing is, like, they've done this whole transaction with you. They didn't really know who you are. And, you it's kind of very impersonal. And then the thing is, they recognize your voice, they recognize this process, but they don't really know you.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I've got to that point with a lot of my clients, like, they're just like, they just text me like, hey, Albert, instead of like, hey, what was your name again, guy?
Yeah.
So it's a really cool dynamic that you can kind of build up, and and all that is because, like, in that situation, I felt like I could have just been like, all right, I'm just gonna forget about this and just move on. I'll make more sales. But I'm like, I had a responsibility to that client because I told them I was gonna do what I could to help them, get them protected. I didn't do my job, so I needed to call and follow up, and I was gonna accept whatever lumps. If they were pissed off at me, I deserved it. Right. But I just took ownership over that part, and I was like, let the chips fall where they may. And fortunately, it worked out well in that event. So.
Yeah. So now you that was a 5 family type deal to now what, 6 or 7? Great job.
Yeah.
Great job making a mistake.
Make more mistakes just like me. And if you guys want to get on and actually watch someone live making mistakes, hop on our live dials. And I think it's been great. I've actually been having a ton of fun on there, and like I've been getting on, various times throughout the day, and I'm on all day because I don't have to be, but I'm like, it's fun because, like, I see my guys on there. I see Terrence and Gerald, and like the early morning Misha, Trent's on there, and like I get a chance to spend all day with these guys, and we're all just kind of like working, doing our thing, and you get to check in and see what everyone's doing, and then I love just showing everyone like exactly what I'm telling you guys now. Before I used to be like, hey, go figure it out. Like this is these are the general steps. Now it's like, all right, just come in and just watch me. I'm doing exactly what I'm saying. Like you guys will hear me mess up on my scripts. You guys will hear me mess up on the presentation. You guys will hear me mess up on quotes, all this different stuff. And you know what? It doesn't matter. Like no one client will ever make or break you. So if you guys want to participate, I highly encourage it. If you guys are going to work independently and find a way to figure it out on your own, like Bruce did, good on you. Like, just keep doing it. But whatever it is, if we learn nothing else, we got limited time here. So make the biggest impact that you can. If you've made a bad impact up to this point, let's figure out a way to try to make that, spin that into something different. Let's go out there. Let's continue to be elite. Let's appreciate Yoel, appreciate John. Big appreciation out to Bruce for hopping on. Love to see the growth, and let's continue to do that. Let's everyone, you have the same opportunity. If you need help with that, reach out to us, let us know. But let's go out and do what we do.
And we'll see you at the dials.
Guys,
See you in Miami.
Albert.
Bye, Trisha.